let's talk about Bob Iger, because now that we've crapped on the actors, let's crap on the CEOs as well, because they're just as annoying and stupid. They're all dumb, ladies and gentlemen. The Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger claims the notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing our children, quite frankly, is preposterous and inaccurate.
So he was asked a question on CNBC in this interview, saying, we put the company on a pedestal, but they've really embraced the idea of getting these sexualized content in the program line that I'm not really to cross. That's what DeSantis said. How do you respond to that? And he said, do you want to just play the clip of his response? He's really good at answering these questions.
Is it linked in here?
He sounds good until you realize that everything he's saying is a lie.
Is it in the article, or is it?
Yeah,
it's right there.
Okay.
It's like right below the first picture.
Okay. Hold on.
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal that seemed to indicate that people aren't going to Disney World at the rate that they did certainly a year ago. And your fight with the governor there, or his fight with you. Is he having an impact, do you think, on attendance, his continued criticism of the company?
No, we see no sign of that.
The question that Mary actually brings up, I think, is later on in the interview.
Okay.
Well, that you referred to was not accurate, actually. It was measuring attendance at Disney World on July 4th, which didn't really
So this is the Marvel
in,
stuff first.
Temperature, which is about 100 degrees and 99% humidity on that day. But there are other factors as well. One.
Oh wait, it was hot in Florida in the summer?
No way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do we want to just keep watching the whole thing, or do we want to watch through part?
So the first part, he basically just talks about the park in this Wall Street Journal article that's saying that the park attendance is down year over year for the most part, and it cites like a bunch of studies, basically people that track attendance lines and things like that.
I also love that
trying to dispute that article.
He dismisses the fact that it's just way more expensive now than it was before, right? Like he dismisses the impact.
He throws some shade at Bob Chapek for essentially starting this dispute with DeSantis. He said,
he's the one who started it, though.
Frankly, the company was within its right, even though I'm not sure it was handled very well.
Right.
It was within its right to speak up on an issue, constitutionally protected right of free speech, and to retaliate against the company in a way that would be harmful to the business was not something that we could sit back and tolerate. So we have filed a lawsuit to protect our First Amendment rights there and to protect our business.
$20 super chat there from Disco Jensen with no message whatsoever.
Well,
thank you. And a $20 super chat from Beanbag Actual with no message whatsoever. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
In your silence.
Thank you. Strong silent type.
And he said the other issues that you reference, the last thing that we want for the company is for the company to be drawn into any culture wars. We've operated for almost 100 years as a company, making product that we're actually proud of in terms of its impact on the world. You know, I joke every once in a while that we're there to manufacture fun. We're there to tell great stories.
Well, that's debatable.
They had him address Nazis showing up outside of Disney World, which I had never heard about before.
There's like 4 people.
It's such a nothing burger. Probably was set up by Disney themselves.
But yeah, I just want to point out, he's the guy that actually kind of pushed Chapek to get involved in the Florida legislation, the Parental Rights in Education Act, which he refuses to name.
Even when he wasn't in
power. There's a report. Well, he still was like involved in the company, but he wasn't CEO at that point. But he was tweeting. He was telling them to get involved on his Twitter. It's still there. And
there's really a double speak here when he says it is not our goal to be involved in a culture war. Our goal is to continue to tell wonderful stories and have a positive impact on the world. If you're trying to have any kind of social impact, that necessarily involves you in the culture war, whether you want to call it that or not.
That's just a lie also.
Oh, yeah.
They talk all the time about reimagine tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like they talk all the time about actually wanting to change the world and make it in its own image.
And then he said,
he's lying.
The notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing our children, quite frankly, is preposterous and inaccurate.
Yeah, I mean, so like everything the way he presents himself, it sounds very like he knows what he's talking about. He's very prepared. He's ready for these questions. He's probably if he didn't get them already beforehand, he's been prepared for similar questions. And so he's kind of ready for them. But at the end of the day, when you hear his answers and you actually like look up what Disney's been doing, you have observed what Disney's been doing with your own eyes. Like it's patently he's lying on like literally every answer.
Well, in case anyone is still in need of convincing, can you tell us what those examples are.
Yeah, so when he's talking about sexualizing kids, just look at the content that they've been putting out there. They literally have Pride Days through their parks pretty much all the time. They promoted one in Disneyland this past June, just last month. There's they have like a drag queen show someone sent me the other day, which I hadn't even seen, that they're doing. There's the Zombieland 3, I think that's what it's called, Zombieland 3 movie, which is clearly promoting gender identity ideology. You then have all of the Reimagine Tomorrow videos that
Yes, crisis party.
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go.
I asked and I received. I said, let's get John a crisis party. Woo! See, why would you want to go watch a movie in Hollywood when you can just watch this? Continue.
I think that's a new song from last time. Yeah, we got a new one.
So you were on Reimagine Tomorrow.
Yeah, so Reimagine Tomorrow, you have all of those videos leaked from Christopher Rufo where you have these executives literally admitting that they're trying to put in this stuff into the content that they're creating. You have one of them, LaToya Ravenew, literally says she's putting in a not at all secret gay agenda into the show. You've got the head of Disney General Entertainment, Carrie Burke, talks about how she has a transgender and a pansexual children, and she needs to like put that stuff front and center now in the content that she's doing, not just have them be ancillary background characters. We need to start centering stories on these types of characters. You have another person named Alan March saying that they literally have a tracker that they created for the Moon Girl TV show that's aimed at like young children, that's supposedly tracking what the specific like gender identity characters in the show, where how they're using the show, and then like so we can then make them more centered, make them more focused and stuff like that. So and then you also have Vivian Ware in that as well, who's like the head of one of their heads of diversity, their DEI department, talking about how they're literally calling children boys and girls when they enter the park, and removing all of that stuff from the parks, removing gendered language. And so now they're calling them dreamers and stuff like that. And that's clear promotion of that quote unquote transgender ideology, trying to remove the distinction between men and women.
That's all the sexual and gender identity related stuff, but there's also like the race baiting in the Proud Family.
Yeah, and then even if you want to get into sexualization and stuff like that, you have the guy from Riverdale who was a Disney star. He played Archie's like best friend. I can't remember, Jughead. He played Jughead, and he was basically like, yeah, Disney's literally sexualizing all these young girls on their shows. Look, Hannah Montana.
Cole Sprouse?
Yeah, Cole. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. But
he said that on Call Her Daddy, I think.
Yeah. But Cole Sprouse, like you look at Hannah Montana, you look at Wizards of Waverly Place, you can look at the
career trajectory of all of their former child stars.
Demi Lovato, look at how she's turned out, Britney Spears, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they're clearly doing this. There's another, I can't remember his name right now. We covered it like a couple years ago. He had filed like a lawsuit, I think, against the Walt Disney Company, basically saying that Disney executives were, when he was a child, plying him with alcohol and taking him to parties where he was abused.
And like ostensibly the culture war as we know it started in like current year, right? Like 2015, that's how people think of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2012-ish. But it's not that all of a sudden everyone decided like Disney was blameless and pure prior to this year and now it's all evil. You're just calling attention to what's been going on for decades and decades behind closed doors. Yeah,
and then you can even go into like lower tier employees too. There's a sheriff down in Polk County, Florida. His name is Grady Judd. He did a press conference, I don't know, a couple of years ago. He's like, he works with other law enforcement agencies in the state of Florida. And during this press conference, he's like, yeah, and we got a Disney employee. There's always a Disney employee. They always get one. So clearly those people aren't even vetting their own employee. Like even their lower level employees are doing stuff to exploit kids around their parks. In Orlando.
I saw a video of one of the people that works at this like princess dress shop.
Yeah, that's in Disneyland. He's
a man in a dress with a beard.
Yep.
Talking to little girls and
trying to glam them up.
Interfacing with children all day. Yeah. Like this is the type of job you get if you want access to young children constantly. It's not just like school teachers or religious leaders. It's this type of job too.
Yeah.
And that's something that obviously the parents are trying to condition their children to think is normal,
right?
Which isn't okay. But you said like all of these examples that are not just like small anecdotal things, but things that have the official company stamp of approval.
Yeah.
The top executives and all the way to the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking Reimagine Tomorrow stuff. These are the people that are producing the shows. Like Carrie Burke is one of the top executives at Disney.
I certainly hope that when she referred to her transgender child and her pansexual child, those are adult children.
I have no idea.
I really hope so.
There's a video that I saw the other day. British woman named Helen Joyce did an interview, and she was basically saying that the parents of these children are going to fight to the death because they will never accept that they have ruined their own children. And that's why you'll keep seeing this stuff being pushed over and over again, because they can't accept the fact that they have been detrimental to their own kids.
There are like Facebook groups dedicated to like parents of queer kids or whatever, where if you say anything off script, you're going to get dogpiled.
Right.
It's like almost all mothers to Munchausen's by proxy for sure. But yeah,
I mean, I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and I mean, those are just the things that come to the top of my mind. I'm sure there's there's a lot of other things that other people are going to bring up as well.
So then why is it between this and then we also talk about how, look, Disney's been laying people off left and right. Bob Iger is also talking about, right now he's talking about paring back Star Wars and Marvel,
We've been talking about it for a while now.
They've already done. But like, why is it that they end up giving somebody like Iger the massive bonus that they do, or these other CEOs the massive bonus they do? Is it because they're willing to push the gender ideology and the things that he's claiming aren't happening here because it's beneficial to stakeholder capitalism through your ESG score? So he's doing what needs to be done for the company, even if outwardly it doesn't look profitable. It's certainly the direction as a corporation they seem to want to go. So by that idea, he's doing what they want, even if it's not making them any profitable returns.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a likely theory. I mean, it's hard for me to really know or even speculate, because I feel like there's like so many moving parts on that. I do think that he did kind of, he was effective at one point in his career as the CEO before he handed it off to Chapek, when he was bringing in Marvel, he was bringing in Star Wars, he's bringing in Pixar, he's bringing in all of these IPs and stuff that were doing really well. They were, I mean, Avengers Endgame, huge money, right, at the box office, making lots of money. Seeming like parks were doing really well. So there were some like things there, and maybe that they're basing off of his past record. Hey, maybe he can turn it around. But at the same time, all the things that are plaguing the company now are things that he was the one who started. He's the one who decided to cut his nose off despite his face by pulling all of their Marvel shows, everything off of the massive licensing deals they had with Netflix onto Disney Plus, where they're just like completely like just cratering profits there. They're not making any money from that. They're losing.
And the
lots
subscriber
of money
growth has kind of
they actually, I think out. They like the last report, I think they lost subscribers in the US. Domestically as well, because they lost a ton of subscribers abroad. That was mainly in India when they lost the rights to the cricket league. So yeah, I'm trying to like, what is that? What is that sport called?
Sport with the
I know there's like a bet.
Hotstar or something like that.
That's
what it was called.
It was the name of the network.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that.
Oh no, hot. They still have Hotstar. Like that's what they call their service, right? They partner with it's called like Disney Hotstar over there. But the cricket, that's not what the cricket league is different. That's like an actual sports league.
They can't get off on the technicality for all of those losses.
Right. No, and it looks like they are seeing significant declines now in the park. And one of the big things that people were going after Chapek for is that he restructured the company so that you could kind of hide like some of the losses that were happening in the movie business and the TV business and like the ESPN business.
Fudge the numbers.
And hide it with the park business, because the park business is like their main business. That's where they get most of their revenues from.
Well, it's just like when they make these movies, they're really just making movies so that they can put the busts, like the action figures, and they can sell the action figures. They can have the statues and everything. And
that was how Walt did it, right? Yeah. That was how Walt did it, but that's clearly not how they're doing it now. I think you can point to Kathleen Kennedy making a phone call. This is according to a former Disney Imagineer, Disney VP, making a phone call saying, hey, we're not doing Tatooine Land, we're doing Batuu now, instead of like what everyone would have thought, right? When you're going to like, if you're going to do a Star Wars land, you're going to do Tatooine, you're going to do original trilogy, prequel trilogy. You're not going to do sequel trilogy because you don't even know how successful that's even going to be, because it's not.
Judging by the sales of the action figures, not very good.
Yeah, I mean, everything we saw from the action figures, I haven't really seen a lot of that stuff recently, but like the action figures for Star Wars that like were plummeted, especially around like 2018, 2019. You had toy makers literally telling us that no, there's no demand for these sequel trilogy characters. People, like, there would be interviews where they would come in and be like, hey, why aren't you making more Kylo Ren busts or something like that? And they're just like, there's no demand for these characters. Are you sure there's a demand for this?
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing it. We can't sell them. So why would we spend money creating things that we can't sell?
Oh yeah, Dustin says Reva lightsabers. Remember?
Yeah, Hasbro could not even crowdfund it.
Yep.
Perfect example.
The attendance at the parks also is just something that makes me think, like, are we living in a simulation? Because in this economy, in this Biden economy, who can afford the
Bidenomics, I tell ya.
the prices just for attendance, let alone once you actually get into the park? The prices are gouging out the actual middle class, which went to the parks in just the 2000s. It was like an annual pass in the 2000s is the same as 1 day pass.
Right.
now.
Yeah. So, and not only that, they've seemingly turned their backs on the state of Florida. They used to give discounts to Florida citizens and stuff like that, especially during the summer months where they could take their kids and everything like that, because that was a low point because it's so hot there in Florida. People aren't like, I don't want to go vacation in Florida. No, they're like going to the beach and stuff like that instead. But yeah, so I do think that is an issue. I mean, he brings it up in the CNBC thing. He said that was one of the first things he addressed was pricing. I don't think that they've really kind of found that sweet spot yet. They are keeping the parks artificially low and in attendance as well. They're deploying some different like methods to do that, to keep less people in than what they could have in there. And then there's a report that like even that Wall Street Journal report that he's responding to, like the travel agency, it's like literally called like Mickey something, like it's like literally like a Disney travel agency. Basically they're trying to like get people to Disney. They're like, yeah, people are booking cruises and going to Europe instead.
Okay.
So
you can go to Europe for cheaper. Though we did watch that really funny video yesterday about how France is actually awful.
Oh yeah. How Paris is overrated. It smells like armpit.
So
probably does now. That's probably accurate.
And the food's mid.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye guys.